Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today, on the Game and Gig podcast, we're discussing our most anticipated releases of January 2024.
All right, man, before we get started with talking about January games, I want to let you guys know about our Discord server. We'd love to have you join our Discord server. There's an invite link in the description of this video.
And I really honestly wish you would join because, honestly, I'm tired of talking to Randy on there. Like, occasionally he'll post in there and it just makes me sick.
It's a small Discord server, but more than just Daniel and I are in it. And I like how you just throw me under the bus first thing.
I'm sorry. That was mean. I'm sorry.
That was mean.
I don't know.
But it's a small but very accepting Discord server. We'd love to have you there if you like hanging out on Discord. But also, it's a great way to have your comment read and reacted to on the podcast. Because if you're new here, the way this thing works is we put out a poll on the main channel. We also put out polls in the Discord. And the same poll, basically. Mm-hmm. And then we take the comments from the polls and we read and react to those.
Mm-hmm. And we go to Discord first. So if you want to get on the podcast, join the Discord server, post on there.
We really rely on you guys to do this podcast because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be able to do it. Because we're not just going to be able to talk. We got to read you guys.
Mm-mm. I think it's been established we don't even enjoy talking to each other.
I think it has been established.
I think we've said that before.
Probably. All right, man. So January games, we're getting a new month, not only new month, a new year. And the very first games of the new year, kind of like setting the tone of the year. Mm-hmm. We've got a couple big releases for the January.
One could say that.
We have some interesting games. We have Prince of Persia. We have Tekken 8, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. And of course, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is also coming out.
Yeah, because Naughty Dog's got to get in on this action somehow.
Yeah.
With some sort of new remaster or something.
Well, we'll talk about that because it's quite interesting. Because put out a poll kind of gauging which of these games people were most interested in. Mm-hmm. And oddly, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered came out on top. Hit us with those percentages there, Daniel.
Oh, percentages. So Last of Us Part 2 did come out on top with 33%. Now, if you're a math guy, you might realize that that's 1/3 of the total vote. Coming in second was Tekken 8 with 28%. 24% was third place with Prince of Persia Lost Crown, and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth only got 15%. So nobody got skunked.
No.
But, Last of Us Part 2 sliding in there at first place in the poll kind of surprised me.
It did me as well because it's the only game on there that's not a new game. I mean, it's a game that came out 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's not, obviously The Last of Us is a huge series, a huge franchise. Like, it's the most well-known out of all these.
Oh yeah.
In terms of IP popularity, but it's a very controversial game.
You think you think more people know about The Last of Us than Tekken?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I think if I went to my parents, who are about as far removed from gaming as possible, I bet they've heard of Tekken. I don't know if my mom's heard of The Last of Us, man.
You think your mom was in the arcade playing Tekken?
No, but I think she's lived long enough to have heard of Tekken.
I guarantee you The Last of Us is more popular.
I'm about to get my mom on this podcast.
Okay, get her on here. I'd say that they're more likely to have heard of Prince of Persia because...
No way.
Why not?
I know my mom.
I'm going off of... Okay, the reason I think Last of Us is just a more popular IP, I think that, one, we've got the HBO show.
And that's big. That's big.
Okay. Also, the Last of Us games are some of the most popular games, period.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't think people have heard of, in terms of general audiences, not gamers, they're not going to know about the Yakuza Like a Dragon stuff.
No, I don't think so.
And I see why that one's probably in last place.
Yeah. And Yakuza is not even in the title anymore.
No, not anymore. So, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. Last of Us definitely is benefiting from this HBO show. I haven't really thought about that.
It hit everywhere. Everyone found out about The Last of Us through that.
True. And I love Last of Us, and I love Last of Us Part 2. So, I'm not upset, that it's getting this remaster. I think it's kind of cool that, they remastered Part 1 and brought it up to, PS5 standards. Now they're doing the same thing with Part 2. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But it did kind of surprise me that it led the poll. It really did. Obviously, I'm super freaking hyped about Tekken 8. And obviously, some of you guys are as well. But with as much backlash as they got for Last of Us Part 2, I just couldn't help but be a little surprised.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting that it is number one. And I think one of it is probably just because it's a well-known IP. It's an established one. Like I said, I think it's the most established out of all of these. You could argue, obviously, against it. And you have. So
Somebody's got to play Randy's advocate.
Oh, thanks. Compare me to the devil, why don't you? All right.
Okay.
Let's read some comments. That's what we're supposed to do on this podcast.
Okay. We've got Randall's feathers ruffled, so you know we're doing good. All right, first comment comes from D1 Eugens of Grander. We've read a lot of comments of his, so thanks for the comment. Who said, I'm kind of shocked that Last of Us 2 is currently winning a remake of what I'd say is probably the worst sequel I've ever seen.
Hey, look, it's not for everybody. It is a divisive game.
Right.
And I understand that not everyone lands on the same side that we happen to. We happen to agree on this one. It's one of the very few things we agree on. We both like the game, but
a lot of animosity.
A lot of people don't. It just is what it is. A lot of people don't like it, and I get that. There are a lot of reasons. I think there are bad reasons to not like the game, and there are good reasons to not like the game. Okay. And I have to assume that everyone who doesn't like it, if they don't explicitly say, they probably dislike it for good reasons. It's not for everybody.
I agree that it's not, that kind of storytelling is not for everybody.
No, it's really not.
I agree with.
It's a dark, depressing game. It is not a feel-good game. I can understand, say, my wife Catherine. She did not like the game, not because she has some problems with it in the way. I'm not even going to go there, but she did not like how deep, dark, and depressing it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've talked about this on this podcast before, but when I was playing it, I got to a moment that I didn't know was coming that really shook me. Mm-hmm. And then I immediately had to walk across the yard and go over to Randy's and get in the car and go play a gig. And he was like, dude, what is wrong with you? And then I told him, I was like, man, I was playing Last of Us 2 and I got to this part. And he was like, you shouldn't have done that right before we had to go to a gig. And I was like, how was I supposed to know it was going to happen?
Yeah.
So it's a dark game that will really, it'll really mess with you. And I think that's a testament to how good it is, honestly.
Yeah.
From my point of view.
It's one of those games that stick with you for better or worse, But not everyone's cool with that.
Yeah, true.
Not everyone's cool with that. All right. We got another comment here from Lil Devin who said, bro, PlayStation fans are wild. They buy the same game over and over again. This is about to hit Skyrim levels soon.
I don't think it's hitting Skyrim level. I don't even think it's hitting GTA 5 levels.
No. I also think that, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think that a lot of people are getting The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2 confused. No, I think because this is only the second time they've released this game. It's not like this game has come out multiple times.
Yeah.
Last of Us Part 2 came out in 2020, and now they're releasing a remastered version of it in 2023. It's not even close to Skyrim level, re-releases. It's not even close.
I think they're lumping the whole IP together because we got Last of Us, and then they remastered that, and then they remade that, and
then we had Last of Us 2 and now remastered.
So
we have two games, but we have 5 releases.
Iterations. Yeah.
And I do get that, but at the same time, I do think it's important to separate The Last of Us from The Last of Us Part 2.
For sure. Yeah, and they're not the same.
They're not the same. And I also think that in this situation here with The Last of Us Part 2, we're talking about a game that is getting a remaster, not a remake like we got with The Last of Us Part 1. So it's a different category too.
And that's going to be reflected in the price like we're going to talk about in our next comment.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
That's a hell of a segue. So let's go ahead and talk about Guy's comment here. Guy said, in regards to the poll, for most people, I believe it's only a $10 upgrade if they own it, right? Could be a large deciding factor versus the other games. Right. And I agree. That's big.
Yeah. If you already own it, it's by far the cheapest game on that list.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're talking about, I don't know what Prince of Persia is going to cost. I'm assuming, the rest of them
Not
are probably,
I wouldn't
think it's going to be full 70. I would think the Like a Dragon might be, but
I bet it is.
It could be 60, but it probably is 70. And then the Tekken, what was it? Was it 60?
It was 70.
It was 70. Okay. So, this Last of Us Part 2 potentially is only going to be $10. Of course, it is largely a game that if you own it, you've already paid $60 for it.
Right.
So
that's true.
It kind of brings it up to that $70 price.
We may have just unlocked their psychology.
Probably.
Their pricing decisions there. But that is a good deal. Because you spent that $60 3 years ago. Probably.
Yeah.
So like,
it's almost like you never spent it.
it's almost like, out of sight, out of mind. So that's how they get you.
That is how they get you.
We're not going to go into finance lessons, but that's how they get you guys.
Now, they are also selling this separately, too, as a standalone physical and digital release where you can get the base game plus all this essential, the remastered DLC stuff, because it comes with a new game mode, it comes with new content, stuff like that.
Right.
It comes with, the enhanced graphics, all that. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be $50.
That's not bad.
I think that is surprising. I'm not saying it's like generous, but it's surprising to me because we had The Last of Us Part 1 come out with actually less content than the original Last of Us, and it came in at a full factions. $70. Of course, that was basically a remake, not a remaster.
True. And
but still.
And I'm going to go ahead and double down here and predict the future.
Okay.
That not only are people the most hyped about Last of Us Part 2, it's also the best game on the list.
Yeah. I mean, arguably, I'm sure that there are people who would very, very, very much disagree with you.
That's just my opinion. Yeah. And obviously, I'm completely bullcrapping because these other games aren't even out. But, I can't imagine that, although I'm going to love Tekken 8, can't imagine that it usurps Last of Us in my list. And I think Prince of Persia is also going to be good. It looks awesome.
I think it's going to be a surprisingly good game.
But I don't think it's going to be better than Last of Us. And Like a Dragon, I just don't have much to say about because I haven't played the first one. So
what do you mean the first one? This is the 8th one.
Well, the first. So this, it is. But this is a continuation of the Yakuza Like a Dragon with that protagonist with the turn-based combat and all
that. Was the 7th, the one that came out a couple years ago.
Yeah, but there's so many Yakuza games, and they just come out. They like fly under the radar.
Do you realize this one, Infinite Wealth, is the 3rd Like a Dragon game to come out in the past 12 months?
Because they did Man Who Forgot His Name or whatever.
That was back in November. And then back in February, Ishin, is that what it is?
I think so. That's like a samurai game.
Yeah, that was back in February. Man, so
they pump these things out and people love them.
I know. And we'll talk more about Like a Dragon here in a little bit. I don't want to go all into it because we really need to focus. We need to stay focused. And we were talking about The Last of Us. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. But now we should probably move on to Tekken because that was the number 2 game on the list. It came in 2nd place, and this is one that you are especially passionate about.
Yeah.
So let's read some comments in regards to Tekken.
Okay. Go ahead and hit me with John Adams.
John Adams says, The Last of Us Part 2 is a misunderstood masterpiece, but it's also just a remaster. Tekken 8 is a whole new game, even if it's well-tread territory. If I had to pick one to buy at launch, I'd probably just pick Tekken. Oh, and you know what? I meant to put in here a poll, and I just completely forgot to include it in the outline. Maybe you can pull it up. Because what happened was we had these 2 games that were on top. Last of Us beat out Tekken, but I was like, what would happen if we put them in a head-to-head matchup? What if I put just Tekken 8 or Last of Us Part 2? Would it change? Because, we had these other games muddy in the water.
Right. So in the more focused poll, Tekken 8 did come out quite a bit on top. 61% Tekken 8, 39% Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah. In my mind, this poll doesn't necessarily show a love for Tekken as much as I think it shows a hatred towards The Last of Us Part 2.
Possibly. It's also quite a statement on the 2-party political system.
It is. You're right. Because when we have other options, we have,
you realize that, some candidates are stealing votes from others, that they're more,
This is a great example.
It is a good example. Every now and then I get something right. I'm not going to say it happens a lot, but I was glad to see this, because to me it's more reasonable, and it is for the reason that John Adams said. Like, Last of Us Part 2, I agree, misunderstood masterpiece, might be the best quote about that game. But Tekken 8 is a new game. Like, it's a new game. It's first fighting game ever to be on Unreal Engine 5, and it looks amazing because of it. And it is well-trod territory. Tekken games been coming out for like 70, 80 years at this point.
Yeah.
But it's a super well-regarded franchise for a reason. People love Tekken. Tekken 7 was great. Tekken 8 looks like it's going to be even better. I've been watching all the YouTube videos. I know that surprises you. And you know, there's a couple guys on there who are on record saying like this is going to be the best Tekken ever already.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, Tekken is. I'm not into fighting games, but Tekken is, I think, the most intimidating out of all the fighting games to me.
100%.
Yeah.
It so is. I mean, early in this podcast's infancy is when we first got like the Tekken 8 reveal trailer.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, holy crap, this looks amazing. I have to play this, but it's going to be a hot minute. So I decided to go through, kind of like when we did Metroid Boot Camp. I kind of went through fighting game boot camp. And I played Guilty Gear Strive, I played Street Fighter 6, and I played Tekken 7. And you're 100% right. Out of those three, Tekken 7 was crazy intimidating, crazy dense. Everybody's got like 200 moves. It's the only 3D fighter, so you're working in a whole other dimension. It's crazy, like, dense.
Yeah.
It really is. But it's really, really rewarding if you get it right. And it also doesn't play like any of the others because of that 3D aspect. Like, jumping is not really a big part in Tekken. In all the other games, it's huge. So it plays different than all those other games and may be more complicated, but it might even be more rewarding when it flows right.
That's the way a lot of those really difficult things are. The difficult but rewarding. That's when a game really strikes that nice balance. That's good that it's doing that. Now, speaking about, in terms of that poll where Tekken did come out a fair amount ahead of Last of Us Part 2 on a head-to-head matchup, like I said, I think it is more about a hatred towards The Last of Us Part 2. And I think that this next comment here from the Sad Mariners fan said, I'm not a fighting game guy, but anything over The Last of Us Part 2. And that's like,
yeah,
okay, that's a great example of what I'm talking about.
And I love your username, by the way. That is so funny. And at least you had Ichiro. And King Griffey Jr. So, like, don't be too sad.
Don't be too sad.
Yeah. And A-Rod, early A-Rod, played for the Mariners. Come on. Anyway.
I don't follow baseball.
Yeah, this is the sentiment that keeps coming up. Anything over Last of Us Part 2. That game got some hate, man.
It still does. I mean, like, you literally cannot talk about it without like reigniting the dumpster fire. You know what I mean? It's like it just can't. You can't do it.
No. And I get not being a fighting game guy.
I'm not either. I'm not a fighting game person.
Yeah.
I've never really loved them. I liked Mortal Kombat when I was a kid, but I didn't like ever love it. But that was one I liked.
I completely skipped Mortal Kombat 1, even though I really didn't think I would. I thought it looked awesome. I played Mortal Kombat 11 before that, and I should have never done that because when I booted it up, I hated it. I just hated the way it felt.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to play any more Mortal Kombat. I'll go back to Street Fighter 6. And if I was going to recommend one fighting game to get into right now, just see if you ever like them, it's got to be Street Fighter 6.
Saying that right before Tekken 8 comes out.
Well, I mean, Tekken 8's not here yet.
Yeah, but you say if you want to do it right now.
Yeah, and Tekken 8's not going to be as accessible as Street Fighter 6.
No.
I can tell you that already. I've played the demo. Street Fighter 6 is very accessible. Great game. We'll see if Tekken 8's better. We'll see.
All right, let's move on to the other two remaining games. But first, I want to tell you guys about our Twitch channel. So we stream on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Usually, the holidays have really thrown us off.
They really have. I mean, we've caught some streams. We've missed some streams.
We've missed more than we've caught recently.
We'll get back to it. We were going to stream the other night, but life happened. And, as we're recording this, it's New Year's Eve, which happens to be a Sunday. And I don't think we're going to be able to stream tonight either. So it just is what it is.
We'll eventually get back in the swing of things. And when we do, it'll be Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern. If you want to come hang out with us on Twitch, it's a great place to talk with us in real time.
Real time, yeah. We're playing a variety of games. We're still doing a Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough, which I can't wait to get back to. I missed that. And we're also playing more Sea of Thieves than we have in the more recent past. Yeah. And that's been a lot of fun.
Love me some Sea of Thieves. I go in and out on that game, but currently I am all in on it.
Me too.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Prince of Persia now. So this is the one that came in third place on the list. And this is one that if I had to pick one on that list, I would have chosen Prince of Persia. But we got a comment here from Kovar who said, y'all really picked Prince of Persia? WTF, y'all are not real POP fans because the really went from a 3D game to a 2D. Wait.
Because they really went from 3D to 2D. He meant they.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I think, okay, here's the thing. a lot of people do want a 3D Prince of Persia game. They do not want the 2D games. I know that they originally were 2D games.
Yeah.
They moved to 3D. That was where they got the most popularity, was in the 3D games.
Yeah, got big.
People don't want a 2D game. They don't want a platform. But here's the thing. This is made by, it is Ubisoft, but it is made from the same team that put together Rayman Legends, y'all.
Which you've played, if I remember right.
Not only have I played it, it's my favorite platformer of all time. So if you're telling me that the next platformer from my favorite platformer team is coming out, I'm going to play it. Like, without a doubt. That's why, for me, this is my most exciting game of January.
Yeah, and that's, that makes me excited because I know how much you love that game. But the first thing I thought of when I saw this game was Metroid Dread.
Yes.
Which I freaking love. So, like...
And this is a Metroidvania.
Yeah, and it looks to have taken some things from Dread's movement.
Absolutely.
So I'm all in on this as well. I'm excited.
That being said, it also takes some movement from Rayman Legends, which I know you haven't played very much of, but it's got those same sort of like really zippy sort of movement mechanics that you associate with Dread, but they're also in Rayman Legends as well. So I'd say it looks more in line with Dread but you can see where they like have come from.
Yeah.
But of course, Rayman Legends is not a Metroidvania.
Right.
It's a more just like linear platformer, level based. Whereas this is apparently going to be a little more kind of open map sort of, I assume, if it's a Metroidvania. It's got to be, right?
And by the way, while we're talking about Metroidvanias, can I do a quick sidebar? Because I learned a new subgenre recently from the Besties podcast.
Hit me with that.
It's meant to describe like an open puzzler kind of thing.
An open puzzler? What do you mean by
Metroidvania?
Metroidvania. What is that? What do you
like
mean?
Like a game.
Give me a game in the Metroidvania.
I don't remember what game they were talking about. It was an indie, but it's like a game where you have to solve puzzles to progress, but it maybe isn't super obvious. I think is kind of what they were going for. Like, not necessarily you're presented with a puzzle, solve it, but you're presented with a situation. How do you go about it? I don't know how to describe it any better. I don't remember what game they were talking about, but Metroidvania was freaking awesome.
I wonder if, like, a game I recently played that was Metroidvania-like but really wasn't, was the that Disney Illusion Island game. And that one had, like, a big open map, and you had to, like, solve puzzles to get to new areas. And I wonder if that would be considered a Metroidvania. I've never heard of this term, so...
So, what the heck is a Metroidvania?
Let's find out, yeah.
This is an article from 2022 from... Nintendo Life. Let's see. So they're starting out by defining what a Metroidvania is.
Okay.
A Metroidvania gates progress until you have the right key for the right door. In this case, though, the key is not physical; it's mental. Whoa, that was a little deeper than I was expecting.
Oh, so because I was thinking Illusion Island, and it's that way. You have keys that you have to unlock, but they're physical keys. You have to collect you have to go collect all the different parts, and then it kind of lets you through. You have to do a little collecting to get through it. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking like, oh, maybe that's it, but it doesn't really take a like mental puzzle to do it. It's just like go, figure out where it's at and then come back. I
guess so. It's like you're figuring out like a puzzle mechanic. And using that to progress until you're.
I want to play a Metroidvania now. I'm going to look them up, because Metroidvanias I don't love, but I like them a lot. So I would be interested in trying a little Metroidvania. I like that term.
I did too. I thought it was really cool. If I had thought about the fact that I was going to mention it on the podcast, I'd have been more prepared to define it. But
we prepare really hard for these podcasts, so. It's like a whole week getting ready. We're like pumping ourselves up. We're doing all this research, learning as much as we can.
And I think you guys realize that's bullcrap. But I do want to say we have a lot of heart.
Yeah.
And our hearts are in the right place.
Yeah.
So do with that what you will as we move on to Like a Dragon Infinite.
All right, let's talk about Like a Dragon. This is the one that came in last place in our poll.
Mm-hmm. So this is a comment from Everyone's Idol.
I do.
I thought that was a 1 for a minute.
Everyone's I do. 1 not. Yeah. No,
Everyone's Idol.
Everyone's Idol.
So Yakuza 8 is going to have the best story, that's for sure. You'll also get your money's worth. So right there, already saying this is going to have a better story than Tekken 8.
It's definitely going to have a better story than Tekken 8, I imagine. Actually, I don't know. I mean, Tekken's got some wacky story, right?
Do you know anything about the Tekken lore? It is insane.
It's wacky, right?
It is wacky.
Yeah.
So they just did I don't mean to keep harping on Tekken, but I'm excited. And they just did a release trailer from for another character, and its name is Kuma. Do you know about Kuma?
Is Kuma the bear?
Kuma's the bear.
Okay.
And the bear was there's been more than one Kuma, but they're all named Kuma. Canonically.
It's like my grandpa that every time he got a new dog, he named it Little Bit.
It's just like that.
Okay.
Did he teach it karate?
No, but he did teach it like little tricks.
Okay. Well, your grandfather in the story is the stand-in for Heihachi.
Okay.
And Heihachi got this bear and taught it Mishima-style karate, kind of like Little Bit's tricks.
Right, okay.
Well, Heihachi is supposed to be, at this point in the story, this is not a spoiler because Tekken 7's old, dead. Okay. He's supposed to be dead, buried in a volcano.
Nice.
Okay. And so as of right now, we don't think Heihachi's going to be a playable character. Now, this is the first time in Tekken's history Heihachi hasn't been a playable character. So I think eventually he will be. That's my theory.
Okay.
But right now we have Kuma, and they put Kuma in a vest like Heihachi, and they've even given him more like of Heihachi's moves. So if you know, you've heard me mention Electric Wing God when we were playing Smash, right?
Yes, I have.
So Electric Wing God Fist is like the most iconic move from Tekken probably, and definitely from like the Mishimas, like Kazuya and Heihachi. Kuma has Electric Wing God now.
Something's fishy's going on here, ma'am.
He also uses fish.
Something fishy's going on.
His finisher is literally a fish that turns into a missile. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Okay, we're going to move as much as I love hearing you very passionately rant about Tekken 8, we're going to go back to Like a Dragon. We're going to steer and correct. Okay?
Okay, take it.
Okay, Like a Dragon.
Tell me what you want to say.
In this comment, they said, you also get your money's worth. Here's the thing. I don't know if you've heard this, but it is reported that the story alone, the main story, no side quests, will take you potentially like 70, 80 hours to finish in this new game. And that's if you do no side quests.
Yeah, I thought it was 700. So,
oh God,
the difference between 70 and 700 is literally nothing to me. If you're telling me it's going to take me 70 hours to beat a game, it might as well take me 700. But yeah, I did hear that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I did hear that. So, you know, hopefully it's 70 solid, packed, sick hours. You know,
can it be? I've heard that they are good. That they're not just like. But when I hear about a game having like 80 hours for the main story, I start to have like PTSD flashbacks to like, you know, Assassin's Creed Valhalla or something, you know? And I'm like, it's just, I think like this is bloated. It's just going to have filler, you know, like.
And Yakuza, I don't know anybody who's a fan of Yakuza who doesn't also love the side quests.
Right.
Like that's a big, you know, part of the series, like the wacky side quests, right? The main story is serious and gritty, and the side quests are ridiculous. So nobody is going to go into this game and be like, I'm not doing a single side quest, you know? So you're signing up for like 100 hours here.
Yeah, easy 100 hours. And they're putting out like 7 of these games a year. No, they're not. But they're putting out so many. It makes me like wonder, like, how do they keep working at this clip? Yeah. They're putting out so. I'm sure there's multiple teams and it's like all this stuff. You know, like I get that. But it still is very. Even if you consider like, okay, let's just take mainline games. The last one came out in 2020. It's, you know, only been 3 years. Well, I guess it'll be 4.
Mainline, so like the mainline...
The mainline, like, Yakuza games. Like, no spin-off, not including spin-offs.
This kind of is a spin-off.
Because it's a mainline.
Well, the main character from Yakuza 7, that was his first protagonist game.
Yeah, but it was still a mainline game.
But I mean, like, what isn't, I guess, is what I meant. Like, Ishin, I guess, probably isn't, but Man Who Forgot His Name definitely is.
No, it's not mainline. It's a spin-off.
Man Who Forgot His Name is like based on the original Yakuza protagonist, though. Have they pivoted?
I thought it was a spinoff. I thought it had like different. I thought it had like completely different gameplay and stuff.
It has the original Yakuza gameplay.
Because didn't they change to like turn-based?
Yeah, this is the one that changed though.
Look, I've not played these games. I don't need to be talking about these. I'll tell you what. I've not played a damn one of them.
I've only played about 5 hours of Yakuza 0, but I have watched some YouTube about it.
Go to Wikipedia.
Okay.
We're gonna find this. Find out what the series.
I know that.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, here we go. So, Yakuza 2, Yakuza 3, 4.
So those are color coded.
Yakuza 0. That's like a prequel.
It's a prequel, right? Isn't it the one?
It's a prequel to the original game. Yes.
Okay. Because you had 6, but then on 7's the one they changed it to Like a Dragon, right? That's the one that they called Yakuza Like a Dragon. That was the 7th mainline game.
It looks like they haven't used a number since 6.
Right, but the 7th game was Like a Dragon, I think. I think that's the one people call Yakuza 7 because they're called
Yakuza Kiwami
8.
2. So Kiwami is a remake. I think those are remakes. I think there's multiple ones that.
What does that say down there?
Oh, okay, cool. So the remakes are in yellow. Good.
And then the purple
and the spin-offs are in purple. Okay. So 6, Like a Dragon, next mainline.
The next mainline is
Ishin is a remake?
Yeah, it's a remake.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's right. It's a remake of the first game. 1? Is it a remake of 1?
No, because this game takes place in like old Japan.
That's right.
Yeah,
but I thought it was a reimagining.
It is because it uses like some of the same characters, but they're like samurai now.
Okay,
things like that.
See, this is what I'm talking. We need to. Look, it's the game that's coming out in January. We got to talk about it, even if we don't know.
yeah. And then Man Who Erased His Name, which I've said forgot his name about 1 million times, but Man Who Erased His Name is labeled as a spinoff. So I guess with Like a Dragon, they pivoted
to the Like a Dragon.
Yeah,
they stopped numbering him.
But that is weird to me that they changed protagonists, and now the original protagonist is in spinoff games. That's kind of weird to me, but I don't know the story, so.
Right, and apparently it's going to take you. And here's the thing:
I know
they need to slow down.
I know I can't
because I am interested in these games, but you talk about intimidated.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at a list of games this long, and then you realize they're adding like 3 games a year, you're like, no, I can't get it. I can't. Dude, I'll never be able to catch up.
I know. I bought like a bundle on Steam. It was real cheap that had like a bunch of the older Yakuza games, like through 0 maybe. And I tried to play Yakuza 0, and I thought it was cool, but it's just so much, and I just couldn't do it. Couldn't hang with it,
Right.
So I feel like the Like a Dragon is probably a good place to jump on. New combat system, new protagonist.
Because that's where they change. Okay, and I'm working on years old knowledge here, but isn't that the one they changed to turn-based combat?
Yeah. That's why I was confused that it's now the main line.
Okay.
Because it changes everything. Changes protagonist and the combat. Like Yakuza historically is just a brawling game.
Yeah, like a beat 'em up, right? Like
pretty much.
Yeah, like a hack and slash sort of deal. Not hack and slash, but like in that genre.
Mm-hmm. And this one's turn based, so that kind of gets me excited because I've realized turn based can be really fun.
Yeah, it can be.
But 70 hours.
Yeah,
I just don't have 70 hours.
Yeah, it was like 70 to 80 or more just for the main story. That's wild. I also, it kind of scares me and it turns me off, and I don't want to be turned off by the game. I want to, yeah, it really turns me off. You're such a 12-year-old sometimes. You know that? Like, you are so middle school.
Oh, Randy.
It's like you in the 7th grade, you're like, your sense of humor, like, crystallized.
I accept that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it never changed anymore beyond that.
I mean, I can explain what cracked me up. It wasn't the initial comment.
It wasn't that I said it turns me off.
It wasn't that you said it turns you off.
Okay.
It was when you said, and I don't want to be turned off, and you paused for a second, and then you said, buy the game.
I did not pause. There was no pause. It kind of scares me, and it turns me off, and I don't want to be turned off by the game. I want to...
Well, in my mind, there was a pause, and I really wanted there to be, I guess.
Yeah. You may have wanted there to be a pause, but there was no pause.
Anyway, I accept your criticism, and I'm sorry.
It's okay. My sense of humor, very mature.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah. I would never laugh at something like that.
No.
Not in a million years. Mm-mm. All right, Daniel, let me tell you, if you guys have hung out with us being like this an entire podcast.
He gestures to me when he says it.
Like this.
Thanks. That's better.
Look, we just want to thank you because really, thank you for making it all the way to the end. And here's how we want to thank you.
Yeah.
We want to shout you out at the end of the next podcast just to say thanks for making it and supporting us and being there with us. We love you guys, and we just want to do what we can, our little part, to say thank you.
That's right. And we do that through the 3 for Dale Club. Now, those of you that you hadn't been here since the beginning, you don't know the history of the 3 for Dale Club, that's all right. Go back and find out. The only thing you got to know is that if you want us to shout you out at the end of a podcast, drop us a comment, say whatever the crap you want to say, but make sure you say 3 for Dale.
Yeah, if you include that secret code phrase, that lets us know that you made it to the end of the podcast, and we'll shout you out in the next one. So, starting off today, for people who made it to the end last time, we got Bobbity, who said, congrats on 100 episodes, because last episode was our 100th podcast. This is our 101st. That's how the math works.
Nailed it. All right, next up, we got Landon Stallings, a.k.a. Dale himself, who said, congrats on the 100th episode. Hope y'all get some quality time with friends and family and some quality gaming time.
You get any quality gaming time over the Christmas holiday there, Daniel?
Yeah, I put about 60 hours on Armored Core.
I'd say that's quality.
It was quality.
I didn't get to play that much. I really didn't.
You've been traveling, man. You've been all over the place. You went on your cruise, and you had to go to Alabama for in-laws Christmas, and, you know.
I didn't get to play very much. I did play some. I've been playing, like working through Super Mario Bros. 3. Almost done with that one. I've been playing Super Mario RPG.
Been playing that one a while.
Yeah, I checked today, and I'm only like 8.5 hours into it. So I think it's only about a 10-hour game. I'm really.
Oh, okay.
I've gotten like.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty short game.
I thought it would have been longer.
And I have to say, I'm fairly disappointed with that game. I'm sure there are people who love it, but I'm comparing it to my experiences like Paper Mario, and in my opinion, it doesn't even hold a candle to Paper Mario. I just don't think it's as good, personally. It's not that I dislike it. It's just like, I don't know, something about it I don't love.
Okay.
But anyways.
Well, maybe it'll turn around for you towards the end.
Maybe it will. Maybe it'll have a good ending. Next, we got Tom Derry, who also congratulated us for hitting 100 episodes. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Tom, and I hope you're enjoying Sea of Stars. Next up, we got Morris Dennison, who said, gotta say the gunplay in Fallout New Vegas is peak Bethesda.
We were talking about this on the Starfield episode. We were talking about how we enjoyed the gunplay in Starfield. Thought it was one of the better things in the game.
Yes.
Now, I remember a time, this reminds me of when I was playing New Vegas.
Yep.
I borrowed the game from you.
Did I give you both discs?
I don't think it was only one disc, but maybe it was 2. I don't know.
No, that was a stupid joke.
Oh, that was in time you let me borrow GTA 5 and you didn't give me both discs.
Yeah.
So I was playing it, and I remember talking to you about it after. You're like, hey, how you liking New Vegas? I was like, I really like it. I've been enjoying, the gunplay. And you were like, it's not a shooter. What do you mean? You're like, that's not what it's about.
I'm sure.
I'm like, sure I just told you I liked it, and you're like, that's not a shooter. That's not what you should enjoy about this game. Tell me what I should and shouldn't enjoy about New Vegas.
I don't remember necessarily saying that you shouldn't enjoy that. And I don't remember this exact conversation, but it was
a long time ago.
But if I can guess about what I might have meant, what I probably meant is I didn't play it that way.
And therefore you're playing it wrong.
And thank you for interrupting me.
Sorry.
I didn't play it that way, and I didn't really regard it as a pure shooter because there's so many other ways you can approach it. Even if you want to specialize in guns, in Fallout, you don't have to play it like a shooter because you can use the VAT system and like target, body parts and things, and that's how I played it. Now, I may have come off super gatekeepy. I don't know. I don't remember. Fallout New Vegas is certainly near to my heart, and I'm just glad that you played it, Randy, and I hope that you enjoyed it in whatever way spoke to you. And that's what the more mature Daniel will say.
I'm going to agree with old Morris and say the gunplay was fun in New Vegas. However, I'm going to disagree and say that it was not peak, because I actually do think the gunplay in Starfield is significantly better, personally.
You like the gunplay in Starfield? Dude, that's not how you should play that game. Anyway.
Let's do it again.
All right, hit us with Landinator.
All right, Landinator said, congrats on the 100. Thank you, man. And also, I took the liberty of filling out the copyright for the rubric for you guys. Our indie copyright is now copyrighted in Landinator's name, apparently.
Yeah, well, if anybody deserves it, it's him.
Yeah.
And if he's talking about our indie game rubric, if you want to check out our indie game rubric and decide for yourself what is or is not an indie, definitively, without a doubt, you can go back probably to the description of the last video, or you can jump over in our freaking Discord and find the pinned comment.
Yeah, we got a pinned comment with our indie game rubric. If you're ever wondering what an indie game is, we've already solved it for you.
Yep.
You can use our rubric and find out for sure.
All right, next up we got Kitaclysm, who said some interesting thoughts coming from the indie rubric discussion. I think it's good to have a definitive gauge of indiness, though it may rattle some bones to tell people an indie game that they like is not actually indie. Is Kit the one that plays Deep Rock Galactic all the time?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so Kit, he commented on our Discord and said, well, according to the rubric, Deep Rock Galactic isn't an indie.
At least not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore, exactly.
Not anymore. I think you can start as an indie and then no longer become indie after a time.
100%.
It happens.
100%. And then somebody, I don't remember if it was Tom or somebody else, got in there and said, a game becoming successful doesn't necessarily mean it's, doesn't detract from its indiness. And that led to a discussion, and we all agree, like, that's not in the rubric. Success is not in the rubric, but things like team size is.
Yeah.
So, if that continues to grow, I guess you could lose points on the rubric and fall out of indie status.
It's especially kind of weird with ongoing games.
Yes.
Games that continue to be updated and changed.
And, it kind of seems weird for me for an ongoing, more, I don't know if you could say it's a live service. I don't really know about Deep Rock, but it seems weird to even think about one of those being an indie.
Well, it's kind of like you can think about an indie musical artist. If they get popular enough, they're not indie anymore.
True, because they get picked up and stuff.
Yeah, so it can.
And
happen.
they would lose points on the rubric for that.
They would lose
for
points.
Not being self-published.
They would go mainstream. It happens. Mm-hmm. Next, we got next on our 3 for Dale Club is Luke Mayhew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right, Luke Mayhew. Now, I always, when I see his name, I think Luke Mayhem, and I love it.
Is that his wrestling name?
Oh yeah.
And then finally we got D18, who said, Daniel literally said Omaha, then completely forgot what the 18 was for. LOL, made me laugh.
Yeah, I did that. Because I remember you were the Peyton Manning guy, but I just couldn't remember, like, oh, that's where the 18 came from. I don't know, man. There was a disconnect in my brain, and I'm not a Peyton Manning guy, So, although I do like Peyton Manning.
We have some medication coming that should help Daniel with his mental struggles.
What?
So, yeah. He doesn't know, but it's happening. He's gonna have to start sneaking it into his mug on the podcast.
At least it's not a suppository.
We got one of them too. I didn't want to bring that up on the podcast, but now that you've brought it up,
I don't know what to say.
That same face he'll be making that.
Oh Lord!
He's got a preview of the
Happy New Year, everybody. Remember me as I was.
Oh goodness! All right, y'all. Well, we're gonna end it here. So until next time, I'm Randy,
and I'm Daniel,
and this has been Gaming Gig.
Peace out.